Michelle, we've said it before and I'll say it again now. Leadership is hard. And one of the things that makes it hard is the first person I need to lead if I'm going to be effective is me.
Yeah.
And I'm hard to lead.
Aren't you, though?
That's part of what we're talking about today. Hello and welcome into the M Squared Leadership Conversation, a space where we talk honestly about the real challenges leaders face and what it actually takes to lead well in the real world. I'm Michael Hales, that's Michelle Hales, we're M Squared Leadership. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Michelle, we've been talking about the manifesto that we wrote, and it started as a way to kind of articulate what we're about and solidify what we believe, what we espouse, kind of the principles that we try to go by as we conduct our business as M Squared Leadership.
It was a way for us to really make sure our values were aligned with our actions, the things that we're actually doing.
Yeah.
I think that's what we really wanted to make for sure that we were doing. And this is not necessarily a manifesto that's going to be published and sent out or anything. This is an internal working document for us. And as we got to going through it, I'm like, we just need to talk about these. These are good podcast episodes.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing.
And you said one of the key things that is going to come into play here, because this is very much a living document, a working document. We're continually revising it. I was working on it just earlier this morning and kind of, okay, this is good. Maybe this needs to go here to change things around a little bit. So there's more to come on that as it takes shape. We'll share more from it with you guys. And of course, we'll be talking about the various tenets of it on the episodes of this podcast. But today, we want to kind of pick up where we left off last time. And that was that, we started off with people are valuable. They're also vulnerable. They need leaders. Leadership is a responsibility, and if we're going to be in that kind of leadership position, we owe it to our people that we're leading to do the job well. And so developing ourselves and our leadership acumen is so important, and I kind of wanted to pick up there and take the conversation forward. We didn't spend a whole lot of time on this in the last episode, so I think it's a good starting point. We have talked some about the importance of self-development and what that looks like and growing our own acumen. There's this principle that John Maxwell teaches called the law of the lid. And that says that if an organization is like a jar or something, then the leadership of that organization is the lid. They can act as a lid on that organization or that team or whatever the entity is that's being led. And Craig Groeschel says that when the leader gets better, everybody gets better. So it's kind of two takes on the same idea. Because if the leader's not getting better, then they're the lid, right? And if they are getting better, then they're moving up and they make space for everybody else to move up around them, behind them. So, this self-development thing is really important.
Absolutely. So we had talked about the last tenet that we had talked about were leaders owe it to their people to become skillful. And we didn't delve into that just super deep, but it leads really well into what we're going to talk about today. So you were talking about the law of the lid. I just think of it as, anything that's stagnant. You think of a swamp. That's what I always think of when I think of something that's stagnant. It doesn't have anything flowing into it or out of it. It's just there. It becomes, coated with algae.
Yep.
It grows the unwanted things.
Stinky.
It's stinky. It's not somewhere you want to be. And that's what your leadership can become like. We really are meant to be like a river, a flowing river that's evolving, that's going somewhere, that's taking things with us as we go. And I really believe that as we're evolving, just like our manifesto, just like the way that we keep digging into this, because there's so many layers
Yes.
to leadership. There's so many, you can it's so fun in our leadership labs. We've done the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, the 15 invaluable laws of growth, and there's so many laws. Like our participants will say, I can't keep the laws straight, but this really is speaking to the same thing, just on a different level that another law we've covered. And that's because it's just so layered and
So nuanced.
interwoven and intertwined that we have to keep building. We keep having to look at things from a different perspective. And it's so important that we, not get locked into one aspect of
Yes.
leadership, and think that's the way, that's the only way, or I tried that and it didn't work. We've got to keep evolving. And so what we were going to talk about today is that leaders must lead themselves first. And
Before we even get
okay.
there, though, I think what you hit on is so important, and I want to stay here for a minute. The thing about there being so many levels and layers and nuances to this leadership thing is important. And I think about the journey of a young leader, a new leader, someone who hasn't been in the space long. And there's this thing of when we enter a new situation or whatever, first impressions are really powerful. And if we're not careful, we can let our first experience, our first impression, become precedent for everything that follows. And that can be good and it can be harmful, because when it comes to leadership, if we come into our first leadership role, however that turns out, good or bad, if we lock that in, then that runs counter to growth. It's like, okay, I've done that before. Here's how it goes when this happens. And if we just stay small in that way, and the only thing I know is what I've already experienced and what I've already done, and I just keep relying on that and recycling and repeating that same thing, then I'm probably going to get the same outcomes, which run contrary to this whole idea of growth and getting better and improving, because there's so much more to learn. And hopefully, as we go, we get so much better in the process,
Yes.
because we learn more, we take in more, and we are therefore able to give out more and do things in a better, more productive way as we go.
Absolutely. And I've seen people give up on really good ideas and dreams because they thought they got locked in, they got fixated in the beginning with what they thought it was going to look like, or I thought this principle would work every time, or I thought it would work in every situation. And it's not that the principle is bad. It's not what you've learned or what your first impression was bad. It's just that you have to evolve.
Yes.
That was just the cracking, of the door, the opening just a little crack. That was just a little bit.
You can't see the
You can't see
totality from the beginning.
No.
It's like I think of taking a road trip to somewhere we've never been before. You can imagine in your mind what the scenery is going to look like on the way. And as you start off, invariably, it's what you pictured in your mind is not going to play out 100% like the road. And you can, if you're not careful, and I know this is a kind of exaggerated example, but that's fine. I think you'll get the principle. You could, well, this is not what I expected at all.
I'm going home.
Disappointed and, outdone. And I'm grumpy because instead of enjoying the actual journey that you're fortunate to be able to take.
Right.
I think about when we launched M Squared about a year and a half ago. What it looks like today is not it's not close to what I thought it was going to look like at this point when we launched.
Mm-hmm.
And I could look at that and be disappointed. And in fact, the old me prior to some of the growth that I've gone through in the last few years probably would have done that.
Mm-hmm.
I would have felt like a failure because I couldn't predict accurately what the business was going to
Mm-hmm.
look like at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have been down on myself. And what I thought happened was going to happen didn't happen. And instead, I got this. But instead, the way I'm able to look at it now is what this is something wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And I never could have envisioned
Mm-hmm.
what it is becoming and what it is now. And it's, I think, going to be even better than I had envisioned.
Absolutely.
But if I had had a closed-minded attitude, then I wouldn't be able to view it like that.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important that we owe it to the people that we're serving, that we're leading, that we keep building our skill set.
So here's the thing. You, as a leader, you're constantly giving out, and you've got to have something in to give
Absolutely.
to your people.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want our people to be stagnant,
Mm-hmm.
right? We want our people to be growing and getting better. And, their productivity today, we want it to be better tomorrow and next week and next year. Well, it's pretty hypocritical if we want that for them, but we ourselves just want to keep doing everything. Oh, I've got it all mastered. I'm doing everything
I've
exactly
already
right.
arrived.
Because if the definition or kind of, it depends, your definition of leadership will depend on your own experiences, and there's different definitions, but inherent in the idea of leadership is you're ahead of somebody on the path. There's
Right.
somebody coming behind you, following you. Therefore, that makes you the leader. Okay. So if we apply that in terms of, being more productive, being better, growing, then it stands to reason that the leader has to keep growing for the people to come along behind the leader and be growing.
Yes.
So you've got to apply yourself as the leader. You got to be getting better and live out what Craig Groeschel said. When the leader gets better, everybody gets better. And one of the reasons why that happens is because you create space for them.
Right.
You pour into yourself. You're going further down the road to make room for them to come behind you. And it helps you not become that lid
Right.
that John Maxwell writes about. So if you take the other side of that coin, if you don't keep going down the path, pretty soon your people are going to run up behind you and have nowhere to go.
Yeah. So that leads us into the element that we want to talk about today,
Let's
which
get to
is
it.
leaders must lead themselves first.
Yeah.
And I've always kind of thought of it is that, self-leadership development can sometimes feel selfish because you're taking time to do your own classes, learn the things.
Me time.
It's me time. It's not me time because you cannot give what you don't have.
Very
and
true.
So if we're not developing ourselves, we're not going to have anything to give those who are following.
Yeah, 100%. So, and it's not just, well, I feel like doing some investment in myself right now, so I'll take time to do this. No, if you rely on that feelings are so fickle that when I feel like it is not a good plan for your self-development. You need to have a plan. You need to be methodical about it. And you need to be disciplined. But we don't like discipline as human beings. We just don't. But being disciplined about finding time to pour into yourself, to learn, to grow. And again, it goes back to this idea of you can't do that, and you're not going to grow if you think you've already arrived. If you think you're already there, then what's the point of learning more?
I kind of see it like we've written here, if the leader is undisciplined, you can expect to see chaos following you.
Sure.
And if and the team is going to feel it. The team knows when you're not disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
The team knows when you're not consistent. The team knows when you're not secure in what's going to happen next. And the team feels that.
Mm-hmm.
You may think no one is watching. They are watching. They feel it. And, if you're easily offended, you're not developing yourself. If you're easily offended, you're not going to hear what you need to hear from them, because they're only going to tell you what they know you want to hear.
Yes.
Because they don't want that response from you. They don't want that negative response. And if you lack clarity, they're not going to know what to do. And so we say all of these things, and we're talking about we've got to develop ourselves. But I always like to get to not just the principle, but the application.
All right.
I'm big on that. Be willing to do the work. And this is work.
100%.
But just like I was saying, if you're undisciplined, if you're insecure, if you're easily offended, that's not, a work hat that you put on when you came in the door and decided I'm going to be easily offended.
Mm-hmm.
That's something in your heart. That's something in your psyche that's making you respond in that way.
And it could have come from a totally different area of your life. We try to compartmentalize sometimes and know this is just work, but we're complicated people, and things bleed over
Absolutely.
from different areas of our lives.
I mean, if you're kicking the dog at home and throwing the weed eater over the back porch, there's a good chance that's coming in to the workplace too, and people feel that. So we've got to be developing ourselves as a whole,
as a person, not just as a boss.
As a person, what you do in the dark will show up in the light.
Yes.
And if you're a mean person at home and then you come to work and try to be professional, that meanness is still going to come out at work. It's going to show up in manipulation. You've got to solve that issue. And that's the reason we have to put in the work. We've got to read the books, do therapy if you need to do therapy.
Do what you got to do.
Rewire your system. Create new neural pathways.
And you talked about it in the context of anger,
Mm-hmm.
probably, and that's kind of an obvious way, but it manifests in all sorts of other ways too. Any kind of unwholeness in your as your whole your
Have you ever had a dream that you had you could you do you once you
any kind of unwholeness that you experience as a person,
Yes.
from whatever area of your life it comes, is something that we need to be working on. And it's important for any person anywhere. But when we're talking leadership, a broken leader, you're in a position to do real damage if you're not careful.
Mm-hmm.
And so it becomes even that much more important that we take inventory and take stock of ourselves, and what is it about me that might be broken that is doing damage to the people that I'm supposed to be helping and leading.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, I see it in all different ways. Sometimes we can just be risk averse.
Mm-hmm.
We want to stay in a safe place. We crave safety. We crave the known.
That's kind of me.
But leaders have to have courage. They have to be willing to take risk. They have to take risk on new ideas. They have to take risk on a new procedure that we maybe could implement. You've got to be willing to take some risk.
Mm-hmm.
And a courageous leader who's promoting, hey, I'm going to be courageous in this. I'm going to have the courage to take this risk. Hey guys, it may or may not work. You're giving them the power to
Yes.
be courageous. If you're taking care of yourself, if you go for a walk on your lunch break, or you make sure you're drinking your water or getting some, and I'm no workout guru. I mean, I'm not spending a lot of time in the gym, as you can tell. But I do realize the importance that I've got to move my body, drink my water, get to my doctor's visits, and generally try to take care of myself, my health. When you demonstrate that in little ways at work, it's giving them permission to do that as well. It's giving them permission to go to the doctor's appointment when they need to. And of
Take care
course,
of themselves.
yeah, and you're demonstrating. So we have to work on these things. Leading yourself is not just learning all the leadership principles and taking classes, which we are all for. We love them. We believe you should do that.
Yes.
But you've got to take those principles and apply them. But it's also got to be, that you are developing yourself, that you're learning emotional intelligence. You don't have to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to get it all right. It's okay if you make mistakes, but how are you responding? What's your reaction when you fail? Are you taking accountability? Are you trying to shift the blame?
Yeah.
When you didn't get something right, then a mistake happened. You just got to own it. You got to, and you're letting them know that it's okay to make mistakes and own it. Everything that you do, every way that you develop yourself, you're showing them how to do it.
Absolutely. And that cuts both ways too. Everything that you want them to do and you want to try to encourage them to do and you're not doing yourself, they're going to see right through that.
They'll see it as hypocritical.
And they're not going to do it.
And you got to remember, you got to go back to this, which is the whole reason we started this manifesto. We want to make sure that we are valuing people, and that what we're doing is adding value to people. So you got to remember to go back to that. You want to add value to them. And just like all of us want to be good parents, you can't be a good parent if, you're drinking all night long and smoking cigarettes 12 packs a day or whatever. If you're doing these negative things, if you're responding harshly, if you're not having real conversations, we have to work at being a parent. I have to work at being a good wife. And you've got to work at being a leader. The position might have gotten you there, but it's not going to be, and people will follow you so far.
They'll follow you so far just because they have to.
Because it's
But they're
the
not
position.
going to go the extra mile unless they choose to and they want to.
Yeah.
And that you get to influence whether they're going to
Absolutely. And you want them to choose to follow you.
Of course. You said something earlier that I want to circle back to, and it was part of this idea of self-growth. And I guess, first of all, the first thing I want to say about it is growth is hard. And one of the main reasons why growth is hard is because you're never going to grow until you acknowledge that, hey, I am not all the way there yet. There is something that's not quite up to standard or up where I want it to be within me. You have to acknowledge a deficiency, a fault, something about me that's not at what I really want it to be yet, or else you're never going to take the steps that are required to enable that kind of growth. So growth is hard, and that's one of the big reasons why. But you were talking about in that process of self-growth, what you do in the dark shows up in the light when the pressure's on, and what you've poured in is going to find its way out. I love the concept of emotional intelligence, and I've tried to educate myself on that, and I've tried to practice it. I've not always been great at it, I gotta tell you. And one of the places that it manifests for me is on the golf course. I love to play golf, and I've done it for years, and I was out on the course yesterday, and I played pretty well, but I had this stretch of like 4 holes where I just kind of blew up. I hit a bad shot, I lost my cool, and it just seemed like it started snowballing on me. And there have been times in my past where I would have been done for the rest of the round. And yesterday I got so mad.
You're just ready to throw that weed eater
I'm-
off the back
I
porch.
was
wasn't
ready
you?
to throw that weed eater. You've seen those videos on Instagram or
Yes.
wherever. Poor guy. His wife should not have been filming that, and certainly should have not put it on social media. But anyway, I felt like throwing a club.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like breaking the club,
Mm-hmm.
and there may or may not have been times where I've done those sorts of things in the past. But I've learned and I've gotten better at just getting past the moment and recovering emotionally. And it's not that there's not been an aha moment or anything. It's just with, I guess, maturity,
Mm-hmm.
with understanding how this amygdala hijack thing works,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to take a deep breath or do what I got to do to get past that
Mm-hmm.
moment. I was able to get through it, and I kind of salvaged the round. Now, it didn't turn out to be everything I wanted it to be, because those mistakes did hurt me. They hurt my
Mm-hmm.
score, and that did happen. You can't rewind it and undo that, but I was kind of proud of the way I was able to
Yeah.
manage
And at
that
least it
in the
didn't blow
moment.
up the whole back nine or whatever, every
Exactly.
hole. There's power in the pause.
Mm-hmm.
Would we just take those few minutes? You can't help what emotions come over you.
Right.
You can't help that. We're that's the way we're built, to have reactions to things.
And usually they mean something.
Absolutely. I always say emotions are indicators,
Mm-hmm.
but they shouldn't be dictators.
Oh, that's good.
They're indicating something, but take the pause.
Right.
Just take the pause for just a second and say, wow, that was a big feeling.
Understand what it means.
That
What's
scared
behind
me.
that?
That made me afraid. That made me angry. That made me so sad. Whatever it did.
Why?
Why? Now why? And don't let the moment dictate how you're going, that one feeling dictate how you're going to react.
Choose your response. We still get to choose our response, even in moments of strong, high emotion.
Absolutely. Yes.
That's good. And it all goes back to, this is a holistic, again, idea of self-leadership for leaders. I have to lead myself first. Before I'm going to be effective leading others, I have to lead myself.
I was just going to say one other thing. To lead ourselves, we have to. Now, there's the whole concept of having like a 360 view, which means that everybody, people below you, around you, and above you can kind of give you an insight to maybe some blind spots. But if you have trouble receiving criticism, one of the best things you can do is learn how to self-critique.
Okay.
And when you self-critique, that's when you can really start growing. And you still need the people to help point out blind spots, because even if we're
all going to have blind spots.
And I don't want to say that I'm hypercritical of myself. I really am growing in that area. And usually the first person that says I'm very self-aware is not. But I do have this superpower of being able to kind of step out of myself and see myself sometimes, a lot of the times. Usually it is in a critical way. I'm trying to do more of the, hey, that was good job, girl. You go get it. But being able to recognize when I don't do that well, how can I get better? Because before you can really lead yourself, you've got to be able to tag things.
You got to evaluate yourself.
You've got to be self-aware. And so, I've seen people that criticism just crushed them, or, made them angry.
I've been that person.
Or they just couldn't receive it. And one of the things that you can do is just start really reflecting. if you sense something going sideways in a conversation, stop and try to remember what you said or what you did that could have been taken another way than what you meant it. If you see that, you're putting on a few pounds, that's nobody's fault but yours. You've got to, or there's something medically wrong. Those are indicators. So you have to stop and really be able to look at yourself. That's where real self-development kicks in.
Yeah.
And you've got to want to be better. You've got to not think you're already there. And I think sometimes it hurts our feelings that we're not already good at something, or we thought we were good at something and turns out we're not very good at that at all. And it really hurts our feelings to be that. But you've got to acknowledge the feelings, sit in them for a moment, and then be like, well, I want to be good at it. So what's the next step?
Yeah.
How can I get there?
Number one, there's no shame in that.
No.
Nobody is good at everything.
No.
And nobody expects you to be good at everything.
Right.
Nobody is requiring that of you.
And like I said before, this is not about being perfect, but we have a responsibility when we lead. And so we've got to start doing a little more getting real with ourselves.
Yeah.
And get this self-development, down pat and really get on a road that, I am working on myself and I am working on getting better. Because when you do that, they're going to get better.
I love it. Hey, thanks everyone for spending a few minutes with us in the M Squared Leadership Conversation. Remember, leadership isn't about having all the answers, just like you said. It's about being willing to ask better questions, like, how can I get better? All right. Until next time, stay curious, lead well, and keep the conversation going.
Bye, guys.